Cathie Wood, by the way, was yesterday at the SALT conference. Shout out Anthony Scaramucci and the whole team over there. And when she was on stage, she was being interviewed by Andrew Ross Sorkin. She predicted that Bitcoin will rise at least tenfold, 10x, to 500K a coin in 5 years. That's what she thinks. Now, remember, Cathie is the same person who said Tesla was going to be worth thousands of dollars per share and ended up actually hitting those targets. And now with Bitcoin, she was in 2014. She was one of the first, if not the first institutional investor on Wall Street to put Bitcoin into one of their funds. And her price predictions depend on whether corporations, continue to diversify their balance sheet into Bitcoin, and institutional investors begin to allocate approximately 5% of their funds into it. And so Andrew Ross Sorkin asked her a bunch of questions. One of the things she said is, if we're right, talking about corporations doing this and also institutional investors, and companies continue to diversify their cash into something like crypto and institutional investors start allocating 5% of their funds towards crypto, we believe that Bitcoin's price will be tenfold of where it is today. So she literally said that she thinks Bitcoin will be more than 500K in the next 5 years. I tend to think that she is not only right, but also somewhat bearish here because it is likely to be much, much higher. What do you think, John?
Bearish is not a word I would use with Cathie Wood and Bitcoin. She has been bullish on Bitcoin for a very long time. She's an investor in innovation. I tend to agree with her that obviously it is dependent on more companies getting involved and people allocating cash towards the space. The one thing I was pretty surprised with was that she was talking about other cryptocurrencies as well on the platform and at the SALT conference, but she's been bearish on Bitcoin for a while. This is no surprise. Bullish, sorry.
Yeah. The thing I would say about that too is like it's probably a little conservative than what she actually believes, right? Because people are going to hold her to it and they're going to look for that prediction to be correct and everything like that. And that's only if the things go where she thinks they'll go. But ultimately, we've heard people say, 10x, 20x, 30x, whatever it ends up being, they're going to see it significantly higher over the next 5 to 10 years. And I think she's obviously proven to be a big believer in that, kind of with not only her words, but her actions. So I think that the number is probably a little higher than that, like what she internally believes, but publicly she's giving kind of like a more conservative or safe bet relative to kind of the risk reward profile of Bitcoin.
I think Bitcoin hits $1 million after the next halving.
So 20x.
20x, and
let's go.
and I'd be happy.
And I think that she, although she's not talking specifically about the halving, is going back to this whole idea of its supply demand. Right. Yep. And the supply is known, it's certain, it's transparent, and it's verifiable or provable. And so what do you need to do? You need to understand the demand side, which is she's explicitly talking about. She's specifically saying that she believes that there will be increased demand from corporations taking the trillions of dollars on their balance sheet, converting it into Bitcoin. Not the whole balance sheet, but some portion of it. So diversification rather than just concentrating in Bitcoin. And then two is she believes that institutional investors, about 5% targets in Bitcoin over time. And so if those two things happen, that obviously would be a drastic increase in demand. If you have a fixed supply asset, demand increases, price has to go up a lot. And if you look today, we're about a $1 trillion asset, give or take. 10x would be about gold, 500K Bitcoin, about $10 trillion, it's the equivalent of gold. If you really think about it, that doesn't seem too shocking. I think that it's likely we will definitely eclipse gold's market cap by the 18 months past the next halving. So the next halving plus 18 months. By that point, we'll have eclipsed gold's market cap.
Alex A asked in the chat, would you sell it if it got to that price?
No. Why would you sell an asset that is going to be the reserve asset of the internet?
Come on, Alex. You've been watching the show?
Yeah, definitely not selling in that sense. And also, I think that there's a huge piece of this that with Bitcoin specifically, as demand increases, a lot of these companies, what they're going to start to do is they're going to start to realize, hey, there's massive manipulation around the currencies. And we talked about it, I think, a little bit yesterday, where there's a lot of conversations around, the peso has devalued at X% compared to the dollar, which sounds great, except for you have two moving targets. The peso is being devalued, but so is the dollar. The dollar is not a constant measurement of purchasing power. And so, yes, the peso has been devalued at a faster rate than the US dollar, but the US dollar has been devalued as well. And so if you were to compare it to something like real estate or something that had much more kind of structural kind of value and holding of that value, you would realize that these assets in terms of the fiat currencies have been devalued at an incredible rate. Look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin and the dollar has crashed aggressively against Bitcoin over the last 5 years. Like it just crashed, fallen off a cliff. Same thing with all other fiat currencies. And so when you start to understand whether it's real estate, it's Bitcoin, these things that people want to hold as a store of value, the fiat currencies aren't holding up. That doesn't mean that they're going to go away. It doesn't mean that people aren't going to use them as medium of exchanges. But what it does mean is as technology lowers the barrier to entry and the friction of switching costs, people are going to choose to use a store of value that is not a fiat currency because they're going to deem it to be a better store of value. That's all they're trying to do is they're trying to store value. Where can I put my wealth so that at a minimum, it doesn't get devalued over time, and at a maximum, it can grow and get me ahead? That's all people are trying to do. At the end of the day, that's what investing boils down to. How do I put my wealth somewhere so that it's protected and it grows? And right now, holding cash, it's not protected and it's not growing. It's actually doing the opposite. It's losing. And so you start to look around the world and say, where can I do this? Stocks, crypto, right? Real estate. Like there's assets that it works, but holding cash ain't one of them.
Yeah, look, that's exactly it, right? It boils down to the simplest thing of you're opting out of a system where you're guaranteed to lose purchasing power. Your dollar is guaranteed to lose purchasing power. And you're opting into a system that has historically performed as the best asset over the last decade when it comes to risk reward, right? When you look at different metrics and stuff like that, taking the volatility into account and taking kind of the percentage change and appreciation into account, it's been the best performing asset over the last decade on the Sharpe ratio. So you're opting out of a system that you're guaranteed to lose money, and you're opting into one where your money has appreciated in value and your wealth has been stored. So I actually don't think you can go through all the nuance and everything like that, but I think when you break it down in very simple terms, it becomes a lot easier for people to realize, hey, look, everything is getting more expensive around me. The same money that I made this year is not as valuable. The money sitting in my bank account is not as valuable. We have the money sitting in my savings account is earning 0.06% interest, and inflation's 5%. Right? So I'm already negative there by a wide margin. It's going to continue to get worse over the next few months. And what we're going to see is we're going to see people opt out of that. They're going to start to learn and understand that they should get out of cash and go into other assets.
What's up, guys? Bang, bang. A bunch of you want to bring that trillionaire energy every day? And if you want to do it in your financial life, go use SoFi. SoFi is our exclusive sponsor because we think they've got a great piece of software that'll help you accomplish your financial dreams. Go to SoFi.com/pomp today to get started. You can invest in everything from ETFs to individual stocks to cryptocurrencies to IPOs, and they even have an automated invest function. Head on over to SoFi.com/pomp today and make sure you come back tomorrow to watch more of the Best Business Show.